welcome to the Next in Line podcast, where we are helping to prepare you for whatever is next in line. As always, I'm your host, Chance Pitts, and I'd like to thank you for tuning into this episode. Guys and gals, welcome into another episode of the Next in Line podcast. I'm super excited to have you here with me. I'm very excited to be where I'm at, up in Colorado, getting ready to do some trail running, to do some hiking, and just enjoy some time off right before Thanksgiving. But guys, before we get into all that, I want to make sure we take care of the housekeeping. If you receive value from this episode or any other episode of the podcast, I would ask that you share the show with like-minded individuals who could receive the same kind of value. That's the number one way for us to grow and to move this podcast in a positive direction. And guys, whenever we move this thing in a positive direction, we're able to help more people. And that is the overall goal, guys. We want to help as many people as we can. Now, with that, guys, another way you can help us do that is by interacting with us on whatever platform you find yourself listening on. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and a variety of others that I know are out there as well that people are listening on. If you interact with us by leaving a rating or review, comment, like, and subscribing, then you will help us pop up earlier in that search bar when people look for personal development and self-help type podcasts. So that's another huge benefit. Greatly thankful to everyone who has already done that, who's subscribed to us, left a rating or review, who's actively sharing the podcast. I know we've gotten a lot of people doing that, so thank you so much for that. Now, guys, if you want to keep up with what we got going on, especially this week as we're up in Colorado, running around the mountains and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, make sure you follow us on social media. That's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're also very active in our DMs there. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, we'll be happy to help on that front and to get you a quick response on that front as well. Now, guys, as I mentioned earlier, we are getting ready to go out to the mountains. We're here in Colorado. I just drove 13 and a half hours up to Denver, Colorado. I'm waiting for Dad to get in here in a couple of hours to the airport. I'm going to run by, pick him up. We're going to make one pit stop at the store to get some things that we forgot because, of course, we always forget something. But then we're headed out to the mountains. We're going to Kremlin, Colorado. We're going to do a primitive camp tonight. We're going to spend some time at the hot spring over there and by the Colorado River. Maybe do some trail running and some hiking there. The goal after that is to get over to Leadville, try to climb Mount Elbert tomorrow while the weather holds out. Then get to stay at Twin Lakes over in Leadville, which is a pretty cool site over there. It's part of the Leadville 100 trail marathon, trail ultra marathon, I should say. It's pretty cool, something that me and him have kind of been fangirling over for a little while. If you know anything about the ultra world, you probably would be too. But guys, that's kind of the agenda. Then Wednesday, we're going to do some running, do some kicking around, and head back and try to make it back for family Thanksgiving without a hitch. We'll see how it goes. Knock on wood, we got things going our way right now, so let's see if they keep rolling that way. And you could keep up with us, like I said, on social media to see if they keep going our way, because we'll post the good, bad, and ugly. But guys, what I wanted to do today, because it is Thanksgiving week, I wanted to take some time and be thankful for some things in my life. Of course, I'm thankful for my family, my friends, my career, my ability to have good health and fitness, my religion, my ability to influence people and to help coach people and move them in a positive direction. That's one of the biggest changes in my life over this past year doing this podcast, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. Now, there's a million and one things that I could say that I'm thankful for, and they would be very valid things, and we could sit here all day in this hotel room. I could miss Dad's flight coming in and tell you all of the things that I am super thankful for. But, guys, we don't have time for that necessarily, so I'm going to stick to those that I talked about and this one specific thing that I'm thankful for in the personal development space that I'll talk to you about now. And, guys, that is our ability to stop making excuses. I am thankful for our ability to change. I am thankful for our ability to become that person that we never thought we could be. And what I mean by that, guys, is as humans, we become great. We become phenomenal at producing excuses. And 95% of the time, they're probably backed by logic. But that logic is based in things that we've learned throughout society. We've become kind of cultured in a way and kind of trained to think a certain way about what we're doing and how we approach things in life, especially the hard things in our lives. Now, some examples of that just from my life would be my fitness. For a very long time before I lost weight and before I started getting in shape, before I started running these ultra marathons and doing all these crazy workouts, I was the kind of person that let my excuses run wild. I would be the person that didn't ever feel like I needed to go to the gym because that was something that people did just to impress other people. And I wasn't going to succumb to the societal pressures of just trying to appeal to everybody else. And that was an excuse I made in some ways. Now, on the other side, I made the excuse of I'm a very picky eater, so it's very, very hard for me to eat healthy. So that was another thing that chalk it up on the fitness excuses that I had as well. Now, along with it as well, I made that same excuse that I think a lot of us make. I made the excuse of, being fit is a young man's game. And I know that sounds dumb coming from a 26-year-old, but in a lot of ways, I accepted the fact that I wasn't in high school anymore. I wasn't the kid that was running around able to have a high metabolism, able to spend time and dedicate time to my physical fitness as part of my daily routine. I wasn't the kind of person anymore that thought that was a high priority in my life in a lot of ways. And I found out over the past year and a half, past 2 years, that I was very, very wrong in that sense. And all of those excuses added up to an overweight, an obese, an undisciplined person. And it spilled into other parts of my life. Those excuses started to run rampant in my career. I became so obsessed with being successful in my career because that was an area that I knew I could physically dominate. I could mentally dominate in a lot of different ways because I was the kind of person that would attack something and work at it just relentlessly over and over and over to the point of I would master something. I would get very, very comfortable with it, and I would be the kind of person that people would call whenever they got to situations where something was uncomfortable or something was hard. And that became a really boosted high-end spot for my career. It became something I was very successful at. But what I didn't realize is it caused me to make excuses in other areas of my life, such as, no, I don't want to go out for dinner. I don't want to take my at the time, fiance on a date or show her any kind of true affection outside of just being at the house with her watching TV and thinking that was good enough to constitute time like that and quality time. But I made the excuses of, I always work, I don't have time, I'm too tired. And I made all these excuses and didn't realize the damage that I was doing in my own life. Didn't realize how much I was cheating myself in a lot of ways, just as much as I was cheating her out of that. And in that same sense, guys, with other areas of my life, such as my family and friends, I had that same kind of relationship. I made the excuses of, we don't get together a lot, so we better just go out and drink a lot and get shit-faced and drunk. So what I started to realize was I wasn't having quality time whenever I did that. I wasn't enjoying the time, and I wasn't really making the most of it whenever I was just getting so drunk that I didn't even remember the experiences and remember the times that I got to get together with these family members that I never get to see. And what I realized was all of these excuses that I was making with my career, with my fitness, with my family and friends, they were actually causing me, instead of being self-preserving, to be self-deprecating in a lot of ways. They damaged the time that I have. They robbed me of the time that I had. They robbed me of experiences, of value, of different things in my life that could have been very beneficial to me if I would have stepped away from the person that I was thinking that I should be and realized that, hey, there's a different person that you really need to be. And making the decision to walk away from those excuses, making the decision to make the changes in my life to become the kind of person that didn't make those excuses and didn't make those kind of rationales in my head that allowed me to become somebody that I didn't need to be. I didn't realize that it would be so hard to change, right? Because I didn't think up front that I needed to change, but whenever I got into it and made the initial realization that I wasn't who I wanted to be anymore, it was a very, very challenging thing. And that's not to dissuade anybody listening from making these changes, but that's more of a forewarning that, hey, whenever you make this decision to change, it's going to be a very, very hard thing. And that's okay. It's meant to be hard, because if it's not hard, you will never solidify, you'll never concrete the changes in your life, because you didn't have to overcome anything in the process of making those changes. Now, guys, there's a million different things that we could get into in this conversation. I've made excuses even this week in my life, or tried to, that I was able to pull myself out of. For instance, I was a little bit sick leading up to this trip. And I could have rationalized out of not driving 13 and a half hours in a cramped vehicle with a bunch of gear all the way to Denver. I could have stayed home and ate junk food. I could have relaxed on the couch. I could have spent time with my wife or my dog and just been at the home, because I'm really a homebody when it comes down to it. But I decided to do something that would challenge me and do something that would cause my life to have some more productivity in it instead. I would get something out of this situation instead of just spending my time in a scenario that I always find myself in, which is just sitting at home on my phone, not really taking care of business the way that I should. So making the excuses and finding the reasons to not doing something is a very, very easy thing to do. Like I said, I had a lot of reasons not to come up here. Had some stomach issues. I've been sick. I know that's probably a little bit TMI, but those were things that made the drive hard. Those were things that made me want to opt out of coming all the way to Colorado and doing the things that we had planned. But instead, I know the benefits I'll get out of them. I know I'll probably be over this sickness in a day or two, so it's not going to be something that hinders the entire trip. It's going to be something that I can overcome and really get a lot of benefit out of this situation and out of this trip. So I'm going to push myself. I'm going to move past the excuses. I'm going to stop focusing on the negative side of things and the reasons why I shouldn't and the reasons why I should stay ordinary. And I'm going to start focusing on the reasons why I should attack things. I should make myself go through hard things, and I should make myself process things as a person who is successful would process them. Now, guys, one thing that I'll leave you with, I know this has been short and sweet, but that's kind of what we're looking for today as we get ready to take this trip out to the mountains. One thing I'll leave you with is the things that I would make excuses about in my life. The things that kept me up late at night were like my fitness, being out of shape, being overweight, being embarrassed of what other people thought of me and the perception that they had. That's something that kept me up late at night. Another thing that kept me up late at night, guys, was thinking about my career and how invested I was in that, to the point of not being able to take any time off, hating myself because I felt burnt out 24/7 around the clock. Another thing that kept me up late at night, guys, was realizing that I wasn't giving the people that I love, my family, friends, my wife, whoever that was close in my sphere and around me all the time, I didn't give them the time of day. I didn't give them the attention that they needed because I was so invested in the things that I thought were important, like my career, like drinking, like all these things that didn't serve me in a positive way because of the relationship that I had with them. And guys, that quickly becomes a challenge that I would issue to y'all, to make this realization, to analyze those areas of your life and to start systematically attacking them, to stop making excuses, to start thinking in the way of, what can I do to move myself closer to that person that I want to be? And guys, one of the things that I realized is that all these things that kept me up late at night, my fitness, my relationships with others, my career, all of these things that made me overthink, whenever I started working on him and whenever I started attacking him in this way, guys, they went from the things that kept me up late at night to the things that got me out of bed in the morning. I started to get so addicted to taking them on, to kicking the excuses to the curb, to moving myself and everyone around me in a positive direction, that I was fired up. It started this snowball effect that started affecting so many different areas of my life in a positive way, that I became the kind of person every single day that got 1% better, that moved the needle every single day, that started to make the progress. And quickly, it infected my whole life, and things have never been the same since. Now, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the podcast. Very excited to share this trip, share this information that we've got with y'all. Make sure you're keeping up with us on social media. Like I said, guys, it's at Next in Line Development on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And guys, always be prepared for whatever is next in line.